Jerry Brown here with Jerry Brown Travels.
Lori here.
Well, where are we at, Lori?
Well, we're here in Cambodia, Siem Reap area here. Yeah, we met one of our new friend. His name's Steve. So yesterday we just arrived here in Siem Reap and we walked to the restaurant and here he come over and say, "Are you Jerry Brown and Lori here?" I said, "Yes, we are." That's how we met him.
Can you imagine that? Another country, and here we meet somebody that knows our videos. We appreciate meeting new people as we travel around the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, so let's get on to this next, and we're going to interview Steve now. Jerry Brown here with Jerry Brown Travels, and we're in Siem Reap, Cambodia. And I have found a new friend here, Steve, and he's been so gracious to give us information about an expat living in Cambodia and some experiences that he has. And I know it'll help you if you're ever deciding that you'd like to live on your Social Security, live out of the United States or Canada or wherever you're from. And so, Steve, great to meet you. Yeah, this is fun. So,
thank you, Jerry.
So, out of curiosity, where are you from?
I'm from San Diego, California.
You retired at a very young age.
I did. I retired at 62. That's the minimum age for Social Security. And I had just been through a divorce, and the house that my dad left me because I put it in the trust with my wife, that was a forced sale. So she got the house we paid for and my dad's house. So I figured I don't need to live in the United States anymore. I don't have any family left. My mom and dad are gone, no brothers or sisters ever.
Okay.
So I thought, why not pack up and move to Mexico or the Philippines or wherever? So the first thing I did was get online and do my research. And then I decided to sell whatever I had left, a motorcycle, a Jeep, tools, everything, and give away what I couldn't take with me, whittled it down to 2 suitcases. And I left the U.S. with those 2 suitcases, flew halfway around the world to a place I'd never been to before, but did research.
You're in Cambodia. So what was the reason for that?
Well, I found out no matter how great a country looks on the outside, if you can't stay there, if they don't allow you to stay there, all the rest doesn't matter. You're only a tourist and you can only stay for as long as a tourist visa will allow you to. Cambodia, perfect. Do you want me to tell you how I got my visa here?
Tell us.
Okay.
That's they really want to hear that because you decided Cambodia.
Yeah, exactly. I had been here once before on a tourist visa and found out to get a permanent visa here, or at least good for 1 year at a time, the best thing to do was to come over here on an ordinary visa. That's $35. You can do a visa on arrival, don't need to get an e-visa ahead of time. Just show up, you walk off the plane, you get a tourist visa or ordinary visa. Excuse me, a tourist visa is no good if you're going to stay. Get an ordinary visa for $35, and within a week or two, you can go to any travel agency here in Siem Reap, like I did, and say you want to get the ER multiple entry 1-year visa, $290, and that's it. You don't need to give them a certification of income or show a bank statement or anything. All that matters is your age. How old are you? They said, I'm 70 now. So I was 68 at the time. They said, that's all. You don't need to see any other documentation, nothing. Just your age alone qualifies you. I left my my passport, and they took it to Phnom Penh and did the visa down there, brought it back. Within 10 days, I had it in my possession. Good for a year. I can leave, go to other countries anytime I want, come back, and you don't pay a thing. That visa is good for a whole year. So that's the ER retirement visa here in Cambodia.
It's Cambodia. Because you've been in Cambodia how many years now?
2.
2 years, okay. So you have some good experience and time.
My biggest source of information has been YouTube videos. But in doing my research, I found out that this is really where I wanted to stay, in Cambodia.
A lot of people want to know about, let's say, medical care. What's your experience, maybe personally, or maybe you've heard some things about medical care here in Cambodia?
Well, I've heard that the medical care in Cambodia isn't quite as good as the Philippines or Thailand. In fact, it's very much not up to par, except for simple things. A lot of people will book a flight to a hospital in Bangkok very comparable to U.S. hospitals, very high-tech, English-trained doctors and nurses. They speak English. It's great. I haven't had any issues where I've had to go to a doctor or be hospitalized or anything.
A lot of people, and probably the main thing you want to know as an audience, moving to another country, and I mentioned living here maybe on Social Security. What have you found about, living here? Are you able to live on Social Security? Are other expats able to live on that type of an income?
Another great question. That's what a lot of people want to know. And I'm here to tell you, I have a personal budget of about $2,100 a month. I live on $1 to $900 easily. I can bank the difference and put that in the bank and start saving like never before. So you don't live like a king on that amount. You don't even live like a king on $1,000 in the Philippines. It really takes close to $2,000 a month if you want to live nicely in the Philippines. Here, you really don't need that much. Maybe $1,200 to $1,500, and you're doing great here. To give you an idea, the cost of living is so low here that you can't beat the prices. Rent. I have a beautiful one-bedroom apartment that's only $200 a month, and it has a beautiful view outside of the coconut groves and palm trees. And the water is paid for. I've got a washing machine, as I say, a one-bedroom, 50-inch smart TV. It's just a fabulous living arrangement, and that's just $200. My utilities are $50. That's electricity. So $250. No, I rent a scooter. It's a little Honda Scoopy. It's like a Vespa, and it's 80 cc's, and I rent that for $80 a month. No insurance is required here. No driver's license is required here under 125 cc.
Supermarkets and food that you could say get back in the States, or you're talking internationally, they are available here then.
Yes, very much so.
Now, do you do much cooking there?
I do. I do half of my cooking at home.
Okay. Now, how about your mail? What about things like that? What do you do about mail and eating mail in there?
You're asking great questions, Jerry, because very few people cover this on YouTube channels, and that's how do you get mail from the U.S.? I have U.S. Global Mail. It's out of Houston, Texas, and it's set up so that I can have any mail I get normally sent to them, whether it's from Amazon.com or my bank or a statement from my trust company. It goes to them. Once I get enough letters or a package, I can look at each one individually, have it scanned, opened and scanned so I can read it. Nope, don't need that, shred it, or yes, send it, and have it sent to me at the post office here in Siem Reap. And it takes about 10 days to get here, but then the courier calls me and says, I have your package. I go to the post office, pick it up, ask them to put the tracking number on the outside of the label. So if it ever gets misplaced, they can track it down. So getting mail here is not a problem, never has been. But you really need to have a virtual mailbox in the U.S. because if you leave, your banks might not let you keep your credit cards if you no longer have the U.S. address. So keep your U.S. address, then come.
Yeah, very good. Now, the virtual mailbox, is it actually a physical address?
It is. Physical address in Houston. And that way, if somebody's looking at that address with a number sign ahead of the box number, it can be, box or number 234. It looks like an apartment number or a suite number. It's still a valid address because it's a physical address. If it says P.O. Box, not going to work.
Now, do you still have a phone number that is in the United States? Do you still hold on to a phone number there?
I do, and I got rid of it shortly after I came here because I realized I never use it anymore. I have a local phone number. But then if your bank wants to do something and have you verify that it's you, they want to send you a text number, a text with a code in it. I no longer could get that, so I had to get my phone number back again so I could do that, and then get international calling added to it so I could get those texts and respond back. So I still have one for that reason only.
You don't collect Social Security, right?
I do.
Oh, you do have Social Security. Okay, let me ask you about Social Security. What about the Social Security office? They see the address you have is in Texas.
Correct.
Okay, they don't see, okay, so they actually are seeing that you live in Texas. Okay.
Correct.
Not living outside of the country. Steve, were you finding it complicated to work with Social Security living outside of the country. How did you take care of that?
No, I didn't. It was no more complicated than dealing with them while I was in the U.S. And the reason for that was my Social Security check is automatically deposited into my Navy Federal Credit Union account in the U.S. And I use my Charles Schwab card because ATM fees are reimbursed at the end of the month. So you have no out-of-pocket expenses for using an ATM card abroad. And as long as I have the U.S. address, they will not send me a proof of life letter every year as they would if I had an HSBC account or a BPI account in the Philippines or an ABA account here and had my money sent here. Then every year they want to send you a letter that you have to print off, sign, and send back. I didn't want to deal with that, so I kept everything as a U.S. presence, and that eliminates Social Security saying, we're going to send you a letter. I've been retired since I was 63. I'm 70 now. So for the last 7 years, they have never once sent me a proof of life letter because I'm living in the U.S. according to my credentials.
Yeah, so that's the thing that you've got to do is you have to do a little side step there, letting Social Security know that you live in the United States, even so you don't. But they, in all their records, and when they're looking at you as in your case, your domiciles in Texas, and you have a U.S. phone number and like that. So any mail that comes from them goes to your mail service in Texas.
Right.
So that's the way you get around that.
And no one ever asks you, do you live in the U.S.? That question has never come up. They see the address that you register, and that's the end of the story.
Right, yeah. He's very knowledgeable in the information that he has given you here, very much in depth. And you're going to really make the transition to come into another country. And Steve, what advice would you give to somebody that's just, I call them the seeker. They're looking at retirement, where they're going to be. What advice would you give to our listeners there?
Well, the best thing you can do is, of course, as anyone should do, is do your research ahead of time and find out as much as you can from Jerry Brown Travels, from other websites, YouTube videos, and so on, all over the world, and just glean as much information as you can. And then you just need to make an educated guess and step out in faith and realize that nothing you picture up here is going bad is going to be nearly as bad as it actually is when you get there. In fact, 99.9% of the time, I have never had a problem anywhere I've gone. Not in visas, not in living situations, not in personal encounters, but just realize that everything will work out. And take that step, do your research, and make sure that where you go, you can stay because of the visa situation.
Well, Steve, thank you very much for giving us all this great information of living here in Cambodia. Steve, great. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you, Jerry, for having me. Okay. Pleasure meeting all your viewers.
Yeah.